All right. Hey guys, it's day 8. And today I have such an exciting topic to talk to you about. Level up with your social etiquette. Ooh, drum rolls, please, everybody. Drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls. Okay, so I love this scripture so much, and I found it in the process of working on your workbook. It says, walk in wisdom towards outsiders, making the best use of time. Let your speech be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. So that means that because people are different, our responses and our approach to them should be seen as the same. First Corinthians 14, verse 40. But everything should be done in a way that is right and orderly. So etiquette speaks to how we conduct ourselves in public spaces and dealing with others. It affects our ability to sustain or have access with people. So that means that if we're going to have good networking, good relationship, we need better social etiquette. It means that we cannot just come into a professional environment and say, hey, what's up, nigga? You can't do things like that, right? And then when we're posting on social media, there are certain things that we need to take into consideration before and after we post. And so that's what today's conversation is all about. And I am so happy to be having it with you. Are you ready? Drum rolls, everybody. Okay, so why do we have manners? And what social functions do manners serve? Now you're like, okay, basic kindergarten question. But let me tell you the truth. Some of us have forgotten why we need manners, why we have manners. And so we act irresponsibly, we act carelessly, we act carelessly in places where we should tread with caution. And then we have this laissez faire attitude of a woke generation. It's very important that we go back to the basics and refuse to assume that we know what it is. So answer this question. If you need to Google, do it. If you need to ask your mother, do it. But by all means, please answer the question. What are some people what are some things that people do to be polite, and what are some examples of impolite behavior that you've noticed? I lived in Canada for a certain amount of time, a very long time actually, I think over 7 years or thereabouts, and I noticed that Canadians are polite. They say please and thank you. Please and thank you is like a national vote of thanks by a Canadian to you. When they want something, they say please. When you do something for them, they say thank you. When you want something, they say please. When you do something for them, they say thank you. And so you must now be very intentional to now know that, okay, when even if you're not a Canadian, when you want something from people, please, I was hanging out with a dear friend of mine recently, and he realized that he began to say please like me when he wanted people to do something for him, or oh yes, thank you, when they did it for him. And he said, you're influencing me. I'm like, no, you just are reminding yourself of the manners that you need and all of that. When we see adults, I know in some places is weird, but when you see older people, you just stand up from the seat for them and have them sit. It's just an age thing so that you too can be honored in old age. These things are becoming outdated but very necessary. Don't talk back publicly at elders, don't raise your voice at them. Get your point across. If you cannot at the moment, keep quiet and get back to it at a later time. These are some basic manners that my generation or Gen Z generation has forgotten. Is it difficult to know what is polite and what is rude? Have the lines become thinner? And when have you been unsure? Or I would love to hear examples where you've been unsure about how to respond to things or how to respond to people. And then in what situation is it extra important to be polite? And then I wanted to know, this is like a personal thing that I'm very curious to know, is if dropping rude, if you're talking to somebody and I overhear and I sit down and choose to keep hearing in spite and instead of walking away, is it rude? Am I trying to be rude? What am I trying to gain by listening to your conversation? I don't know. You tell me. So think about it and let me know. Is if dropping rude is me listening in on conversations, is it rude? What is right? What is really not right? And how do we balance all of that? And then on that still, is it impolite to listen to other people's conversation? You can say, I was not intentionally eavesdropping, but I just came in when you guys were talking and I chose to stand by the door and listen instead of making myself known. Is it rude? Is it polite? Let's know. That's a good argument to have. Okay, so what is good etiquette when driving? Is it polite to let another car into your lane when the traffic is heavy? Is it rude to honk your horn? I know that in Africa and places around Africa, it's normal. It's normal to honk horn. So it's like if I want to get your attention, I horn. If I want to do anything, I horn. Everything, my life is surrounded by horning. And so, yeah, how exactly do I drive politely and drive intentionally without being difficult or completely impossible to other drivers on the road? My dad used to tell me something. He said, every driver is mad. Believe that you are the only sane person on the road. Is that true? And what's true about it or what's not true about it? I would love to hear, anyways. What's good etiquette for when you visit someone's home, and how can you try to be a good visitor? You know, some people visit your home and then they begin to snoop around your things and all of that. Is that rude? Is that polite? Is that nice? That somebody comes to your house and begins to snoop around your private belongings. What are the proper things that a visitor should have or a visitor should do, or, and all of that? And then what are some good table manners? So if I'm going out for a formal dinner, what are the table manners I need to be aware of? And then can having good manners help you become successful? And if they can, how do they make you become successful? Very good questions to answer. I'm serious, really good questions to think about and to consider, especially when building your personal or professional brand. Are there any polite behaviors in your country that might surprise a foreigner? For example, I know that the Yoruba culture prostrates when they are greeting elders. Imagine a man coming from Germany and he's a little older, and then a Yoruba boy sees him on the road and prostrates. How's he gonna feel? And so just think about it. I'm really curious to know what very interesting cultures we have in different parts of Nigeria and around the world. And then what should visitors in your country know about being polite? Do some culture care about politeness more than others? And where does being polite seem the most important? Where does being polite seem the most important? And then how much personal space do you need? You know, does everybody need about the same physical distance between themselves and other people? So personal space, let's talk about personal space. What is personal space? Like how far, how many kilometers is personal space? Like, don't stand that close to me. You're invading my personal space. Oh, I'm getting claustrophobic. You're too close. Move. And all of that. So what does it look like to you and all of that? What do you think about public displays of affection? Is it rude for a couple to kiss or snuggle where other people can see them? I mean, married couple. I am not endorsing premarital sex or premarital making out. What are some manners from the past that are rarely practiced anymore? Things like standing up for elders when they step into a room and the likes of it. What other ones do you know? um do you think that staring at somebody is bad manners? What would you do if somebody was staring intensely at you all the time? What would you do? Would you confront them? Would you awkwardly walk away from the place? What would you do? Can someone's politeness show their social level or their wealth? What does your manners reveal to people who are watching you? And then what are some key social media etiquettes? How do you talk on social media, and what are the things that you encourage people to do, or something that is a pet peeve for you that drives you crazy? For example, punctuation marks. Punctuation marks, it drives me crazy when I see people using it wrongly. just drives me crazy. I believe if you're going to post on social media, please take some time to proofread what you are posting. How do you handle rudeness on social media? When people are rude, how do you deal with it? How do you handle impossible people on social media? Are you going to clap back? Are you going to talk to them, prove a point? How are you going to treat them and all of that? How do you treat clap back from elders? How do you treat clap back from people in authority? Man, man, man. Like, seriously, guys, this is so important. And I am so proud and so pumped whenever I see people with good social media etiquettes and all of that. And so, what are social media etiquettes really? Are social media etiquettes really different from physical etiquettes and the likes of it? And like, really, a social media etiquette universal, or are they country specific? So the etiquettes that are in US, are they the same in Nigeria? And if they are not, what's the difference? And why is there a difference, if there's any? I really want you to think about these things, because we sometimes we just do things because it's a fad, but we don't really know why it's being done. In fact, at a point I had to be careful about posts that I screenshotted and posted on my status, because my status has a diverse audience watching it. And so I knew that if I build the wrong um if I build the wrong brand on my social or my WhatsApp status, then I would be um permitting certain things that I would not be able to handle long term. So I had to draw those boundaries early on. I had to say those things early on and say, you know what, this is not acceptable for me. This is not for me. This is not for me. That's not for me, and all of that. So I'd love to hear from you about social media etiquette and all of that. Let's have a conversation really around that. All right, until I come your way tomorrow. Wow, we're almost done. 2 days to go. How do you feel about that? The fact that we just have two more videos and then one live session and we're done. My God. Wow, that's a lot. Guys, that's intense. Two live sessions. Anyways, let me know. Let me read from you. Bye for now.